from a young age, that's what I always focused on. I always wanted to make sure I had a mule deer tag in my pocket. If you ever want to learn how to stalk an animal, go on a spot and stalk antelope hunt, and you'll probably blow 20 or 30 stalks before you even get within bow range, and then that stalk you'll probably blow it too. But and he had just been diagnosed with, at that time, it was a life-threatening illness. It's something he's going to have to live with the rest of his life, but at that time, I didn't know if I was going to have any more hunting seasons with him. Not everybody's going to kill a 400-inch bull, I have never seen a 400-inch bull in the wild. Like, for me, that's one of the things I love. I look forward to packing animals out. I look forward to that pain, that pain of success. And what it does is it teaches them how to bring the wilderness into the classroom, whether it's archery in the schools or whether it's teaching kids how to start a fire. I mean, how many kids out there actually know how to start a fire now? For me, I just love talking hunting. I love being in the outdoors, so I'm sure pretty much any weekend, if I'm not at a show, I'm going to be out, running around the woods. As long as there's something to do outdoors, I'll be doing it. Hey guys, this is Muley Matt, and you're listening to Living Country in the City, episode 49.
Y'all ready for your dose of flyover state spirit? Straight from the concrete jungle? Well, put down your latte and pull on your boots. It's time for Living Country in the City.
Hey y'all, Happy New Year, and thanks for tuning in for episode 49 of Living Country in the City. I'm crazy excited to start this new year off with a bang, and I've got some really exciting stuff in the works that I'm really looking forward to sharing with y'all. But now, if y'all have been following me on Instagram, you know that the most exciting news for me, which is that there's now official Living Country in the City merch. Just before Christmas, I posted up the Living Country in the City hats and decals on the website. Was originally planning on waiting until this week to actually get those up, but y'all are so awesome and showed so much interest that I got them up here on the site early. And now big thanks to everyone that hopped on and picked up a hat before New Year's and got that early purchase sale price. Hats are still available on the website in black and heather gray. Check them out at livingcountryinthecity.com/store. Now in my next order, I'll be adding an additional color or possibly an additional style hat, so keep an eye out for that. Also, check out my support page at livingcountryinthecity.com/support, where y'all can find ways to get involved and really help support Living Country in the City, as well as get some really sweet rewards along the way. Now, today I'm talking with Muley Matt Howell of the Mule Deer Hunter, and cultivator of, I guess the best way to describe it here is an impressive wall of beard. Matt, thanks for hopping on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man. This is going to be a blast.
Absolutely. So, why don't you start out by giving me maybe a little bit of background about how you got your start in the outdoors and hunting?
Sure, yeah. I was raised like many of the guys around me. I was raised in the hunting world, I guess. I had a dad that loved to hunt, a grandfather that loved to hunt, and so from a young age, they were going out hunting. I would see them come back with a deer in the back of the truck or an elk in the back of the truck, and I remember, probably around 6 or 7 years old, talking my mom into driving out to their camps, at night so that I could sit around the campfire and hear their stories, and it was awesome to be out there and just to be a part of even that setting, not actually getting to hunt, but just being there to hear the stories around the campfire. And it worked out cool. One night during the hunt, every year I got to go out and just kind of hang out with the guys and hear the stories. So that was awesome. As I got a little bit older, my dad really started to get into bear hunting, specifically with a bow. And the cool thing was he was actually after one particular bear, and he hunted that bear for like 4 years. But I got to be a part of that and go out in the spring and help him set baits, hang stands. And we would sit there and watch 7 or 8 different bears come in every night and talk about the bears and how you could tell it was a male or a female. If it was a sow, does she have cubs? And it was really cool just to learn a lot close up. Crazy thing is that bear disappeared. He never harvested it. Nobody ever harvested it as far as we found out. So, and then about the time I got old enough to hunt, Colorado passed a law outlawing baiting for bears and use of hounds. So now you can hunt bear, but you can only hunt bear in the fall, and you can't use baits. So, but that definitely got a passion instilled in me for the outdoors. As far as mule deer, man, I don't know. That was something that I think just growing up where I grow up, seeing them all the time, getting to know them, seeing the little differences and nuances in each animal, whether it be the little nicks in their ears or the colorations, the throat patches, the antler configurations. I don't know, something about mule deer just always caught my attention. And from a young age, that's what I always focused on. I always wanted to make sure I had a mule deer tag in my pocket. At the age of 16, I guess I just turned 16. I harvested my first buck with a bow, and that was just an awesome experience for me. I was on cloud nine, and I had already spent 2 years archery hunting for, a buck, and hadn't been able to get it done. So it was cool. And, starting out at that young age, I always ended up hunting alone, even though my dad was a hunter. During archery season was one of his busiest times of the year as far as work goes. So he would take me out, drop me off at a place, and say, okay, I'm going to pick you up on a different road over here, and, right after dark. And then he'd go work, do some jobs, and then he'd meet me there at dark and pick me up. So I spent a lot of time, when I was young, out hunting by myself. And I would not say that I was very successful at a young age, but I think by getting out there and getting those experiences and failing, it caused me to be much more successful now, and give me a better understanding of not only how mule deer work, but just animals in general, wildlife. So
was that buck at 16 your first animal period, or just your first harvest with a bow?
It was actually my first animal period. My first big game animal. I had shot some hogs down in Texas when I was young. But to me, that was my first big game animal. And it was kind of a cool situation. I snuck in on these deer. I had spotted these bucks from maybe 400 or 500 yards and dropped down across the canyon, and they were coming down to water, and I was going up to meet them, and actually got caught out in the open as they came out of smoke brush. And I looked over, and man, here's this stud of a buck, probably 185 inch, 5x5 deep forks. In my mind, I still see him at like 36 inches wide, but I'm sure he was like 30. But I mean, he was just a stud buck. And I was sitting there thinking, man, I can't draw my bow. I'm out in the open. He's looking right at me. And all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I caught a little bit of movement, and I turned my head to the left. And the buck I ended up killing, which was right about 145, 150 class buck, full velvet, just a beautiful 4-point, was standing there at about 15 yards, and he was looking the other direction. And so immediately I just, knocked an arrow, brought my bow up, came to full draw, and stuck him. I didn't even hesitate. I knew I couldn't get a shot off on the buck that was staring at me. So I shot that buck, and man, the arrow went clean through him. I went over, blood all over the arrow, turned around, and that big buck was still standing right where he was, broadside at about 20 yards. So, but I could care less at that point. I was just stoked that, I knew I had a buck down. So it was a cool experience.
So do you still have that buck laying around anywhere?
Oh yeah. Yeah. He's here in the house. So
that's awesome. That's one of the cool things, I think, whatever the drama over the term trophy hunting, whatever it is. I mean, that's a trophy buck to you. It may not,
Oh, for sure.
That's an awesome trophy buck for you. But the fact that you still have it, and it brings back all those memories, and you can still look at that and remember that time, that, that first time in that story with the other buck, and, it's
right.
You can just see it, how much you enjoy telling that story.
Oh yeah. It's still crisp and clear in my mind for sure. So yeah.
That's one of the exciting things I think about hunting is and coming back with these trophies is it's not just about throwing something up on a wall. It's about reliving that incredible experience and bringing back all those memories and all of that.
I would agree with you on that for sure. And, I get some people that, ask about hanging stuff on the wall and if how I feel about that. And I even get some people saying it's so disrespectful to the animal. But to me, I look at each one of these, and I know you can see behind me some of these deer on the wall. Every one of them, every time I look at it, it brings back memories of that hunt. To me, that's the ultimate respect, to have those trophies, keep them around. I remember the hunt. I remember, the moment that I chose to take that animal's life. To me, it's not a simple and easy thing. It's not as easy just, okay, pull the trigger, whether you're pulling a trigger on a release or on a rifle. For me, I have to make a decision. It's not just get an arrow in that animal. It's, can I get an arrow in that animal's heart? Can I make an ethical shot, pierce both the lungs, and make sure that animal dies quickly without suffering? And when you make that choice to pull that trigger, you better be damn proud of that animal that you've harvested. And I guess maybe that's one of the things that kind of pisses me off about social media these days is way too many times I see people post a picture and the first thing they say is, this isn't the biggest buck, but, well, you know what? It was big enough for you to pull the trigger, so you should be damn proud of the fact that you did. And that's the way I am, the way I look at it. I've got a buck sitting over here that's a 3x4 and doesn't score at all. He's like 20 inches wide, and he wasn't even a mature deer, which now I won't harvest a deer that's not mature for the most part. But my son was with me, and he had just been diagnosed with, at that time, it was a life-threatening illness. It's something he's going to have to live with the rest of his life. But at that time, I didn't know if I was going to have any more hunting seasons with him. He was not able to walk very far. We couldn't get in the woods very far. I think he was 10 years old at that time, maybe 11. But, he was with me, and he's like, Dad, I want you to shoot that deer. And it was the last night, and there was no way in the world I was going to pass it up. And he's still one of my favorite bucks because I got to share that experience with my son. And, at that time, I seriously didn't know if I was going to have any more hunting seasons with him. Since then, my son's now 15, and he's killed 3 mule deer bucks. It's a nice, like 180, close to 180, 178, I think is what he was. But, just a stud deer when he was 12. He's killed a bear, so he's gotten out there and had those experiences. But had I not shot that deer and let him have that experience at that young age, not only just the being there for the harvest, but seeing what it takes to harvest the animal. You got to gut it and clean it and pack it out, and him getting to be a part of that. I don't know if it would have instilled in him enough passion towards the outdoors to where he would still be hunting. He's not, I guess he's a little different as far as different than I was, because when I was his age, all I wanted to do was shoot my bow and shoot my guns and be outside. Whereas he would rather be on the computer playing video games or talking to friends or watching sports or, playing sports, which at this age, high school age, I understand. But I strongly believe if I hadn't shared that moment with him when I was younger, that he would not be against hunting by any means and probably still hunt, but he wouldn't have the same kind of passion he has for it.
No, that's awesome. I don't know. I just hope one day, if I ever have kids, that's the one thing that I think about all the time. I'm like, if I have kids, I want them to, I don't know. I just want to make sure I can instill those things that I'm passionate about. You want to be able to pass those on, and hunting's such a big one. But and there's a ton of stuff that I'm super passionate about. But that's the one thing I always think about, and it's so important just for hunting in general that people are passing that on, because it's so quick that we can lose that,
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think you have to be careful with kids bringing them into the outdoors, just as you do anybody else. That on those early hunts, those early outdoor experiences, there has to be some form or level of success. Now, I'm not saying you have to kill an animal, your first day out. But if those kids or those new hunters aren't at least seeing animals, which, from your elk hunt in Idaho, how discouraging that gets.
For sure.
You don't have just that built-in passion to push you to do it again next year. On a lot of these kids and these new hunters, they're not going to do it again. They're going to say, you know what, that wasn't any fun. I didn't see anything, and I don't want to do it again. So I think you have to introduce those kids at an early age, especially if you're introducing them at an early age, to short hunts where there's a lot of game or a lot of success, whether that be a duck hunt or, not that I duck hunt, because not that I'm against it, but I just, I don't actually enjoy eating ducks. So I don't duck hunt very much, but it just needs to be something successful, to where there's a lot of action and keep their focus and excitement on the hunt. Even if it's like going to the winter range and looking at deer, getting them out there to where it's action packed and not just, hike your butt off, to where they get excited about it and they don't look at it as work. That's what needs to happen, with kids and with new hunters. And, and I think they need the whole experience. You can't sugarcoat it to where it's like, okay, we shot it, somebody else is going to clean it and, package it up. Like with my boys, their first animals, they pulled the trigger. They went up. They had their hands bloody and dirty. They had knives at the age of 12, cutting meat. We butchered the thing at the house, packaged it all up. And when that food hit their plate and they were able to look at me at the age of 12 and say, you know what, I brought this meat to the house. You could see that pride in their eyes of like, hey, this is my meal. Like I did this, and that was a really cool experience. Probably almost as cool as just, the moment that he pulled the trigger and killed that buck, just him seeing and understanding, okay, this is full circle why we do it.
That's awesome. So you wouldn't say a high country elk hunt on public land would probably be the best decision for your 10-year-old? Is that what we're getting at here?
For your 10-year-old, it might be tough. Now, yeah, you get somebody that's passionate about just hiking and camping and seeing the beauty of Mother Nature, you might pull that off.
Oh, heck. For your 34-year-old, that was pretty tough.
I think people. Well, okay, I'll make a little statement, and some people may think it's a bold statement, but I think that there's the high country and high country hunts are so romanticized. It's kind of that romantic hunt. Everybody wants to do it, and I think everybody should do it at some point. But what I'll say is that those hunts have to be earned. You can't buy those hunts. You can go out and get the most expensive gear. You can get the nicest camo out there, the newest bow, the newest rifle. If you don't put in the time to earn those hunts and the effort to earn those hunts, it's not going to be successful. And I'm not just talking about pulling the trigger successful. I'm talking about getting back, to the trailhead with a smile on your face. So I think a lot of people go too hard, too deep, spend too much money on their first trips. Your first trips, to me, I think you need to get out there a mile or two off the road and be happy with it. And I think you need to be happy with what you might consider a subpar animal. Not everybody's going to kill a 400-inch bull. I have never seen a 400-inch bull in the wild. Just haven't. It just, 200-inch deer. Yeah, I've killed a 200-inch deer and I've seen them, but I'm in a great place for it. And I think that you have to have long-term goals where you say, okay, yeah, someday I want to get a 400-inch bull, but you also have to have realistic expectations, and you have to have short-term goals of, hey, you know what? I'm going to go to Utah and get a spike-only tag, and I'm going to shoot a spike, or do my damnedest to do it, whether you succeed or not, but to where you can have fun and be like, okay, I'm going to chase these bulls and get to know them because, yeah, a blind squirrel finds a nut in the forest every now and then. So, yeah, you get a newbie walk out and a giant bull walks out in front of him and he shoots it. But for the most part, that is not hunting. If that does happen, that guy may not kill a bull for 20 years, because he doesn't know how to elk hunt. He got lucky, which is great. But I think for the most part, you have to put in the time, no matter what you're doing. If that success can't be bought, it has to be earned.
I mean, it's such an interesting point too, because, you talk about, okay, guy goes out, his first trip, gets super lucky, kills that bull. I mean, unless he's got a lot of people informing him, he's going to go out and that's what he's going to do again next year. He's going to walk out and expect that the same thing's going to happen. Like, he's going to think that's the norm. He's not going to, that person didn't learn anything. They didn't, they don't know, okay, they have had no examples of where they need to improve or what they can do better. And so they're just going to keep doing that same thing for, year after year until they realize, crap, this isn't working anymore.
Right.
They don't just appear, 100 yards off the road all day long.
Yeah, and that's very true. And, I know I've seen it firsthand where people get lucky. I mean, the biggest bull I've ever seen killed in the area I like to hunt was killed by, a guy that him and his buddy had literally put their finger on a map and said, let's go here. And they drive out there and the guy, his buddy, killed a nice buck the first night. So they were partying all night and crawled out of the tent 10 o'clock in the morning, and he walked up the hill about 100 yards from camp and killed a giant bull, and they were, yeah, this stuff's easy. We're going back to California. So,
of course they're from California, right? Right.
But it just shows you that to be successful, number one, you got to be off the couch. You got to be in the woods. You never know what'll happen. If you're sitting at home, you're never going to kill anything. So get out there. You increase your odds of success the more effort you put into it. In other words, the more work you put into it in the off season, whether it be studying Google Maps or learning about the animals and the unit that you're hunting, getting ready physically. And I'm not talking about, doing these, what do they call them? The fitness shows where you got a rocking body and 6 packs and, look like Griffith, all ripped. But I'm talking about having your body in a shape to where you can hit the mountain, hike the mountain, and pack out what you need, if you get that animal down. I would be willing to bet that most guys that hunt the backcountry are going to go on a backcountry trip have never had 100 pounds in their backpack, But if you get an elk down, more than likely you're going to have 100 pounds in your pack at some point. I would encourage people to, hey, go to the gym and throw 2 45-pound plates, on your back and get on the stair climber and do a couple flights of stairs and see how that feels, because that is legitimate, that's an experience that you're going to have if you're successful. You have to get that meat out. I mean, again, that's paying respect to the animal. If you're going to kill that animal, you better be in good enough shape to get that animal out, get that meat out, so that it doesn't go bad. So chasing rabbit trails again.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, and that's definitely something I learned. I as I was training for my hunt, I remember I was loading up the pack, and you also quickly realize when your pack is not adjusted correctly for you. It's yeah, I quickly had to do some once I got up, I'd say past about 60 pounds, 60, 70 pounds, I quickly realized that I had to do a lot more research on exactly how to adjust a pack correctly and where it was supposed to sit, because that started sucking rapidly.
Yeah, it will. And I'll also say this. You put 60, 70 pounds on your back, you're going to find out what that pack itself is made out of.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, a lot of people ask me, well, what pack should I get? And I say, well, what are you going to do? Are you just going to go bird hunting or hiking or day packing, backpacking? What are you going to be putting on 80 pounds, 100 pounds, and really getting after it? Because that's where you're going to see the major difference. The pack I use, guys have been blown away. I've helped, multiple people pack off. In Idaho one year, guys shot 2 bulls at the same time, and we helped them pack those 2 bulls off the mountain. And they were both using high-end packs. I'm not going to say names, but a high-end pack, it probably cost them $400 or $500 for the packs. And when they saw my pack and what I could put in it, and they were both in better shape than me, so they both should have been able to pack more. And just to see, they were going to leave the head of one of the bulls, and I said, no, just throw it on my pack. And they're like, we can't do that. And I was like, yeah, just throw it on there. Now, I did have like the Elvis legs going as I was headed down the hill. They were
wobble, wobble.
But, just seeing that. And when we got to the bottom and got to the truck, they were like, let me throw that pack on. And they were blown away at how well that pack handled that weight. It wasn't so much me handling that weight as much as it was the pack. So, I think it's important, yes, to have good gear, but like I said, again, you've got to have that experience. If you've got good gear, but you can't put 80 pounds on your back because physically your legs can't handle it, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah. No, I definitely, I will agree. I was blown away the first time I threw on my Kafaru pack it was like the first real frame pack I'd ever had with the belt and everything. And I'd never worn one before. And I was like, I just don't know. I had only been using normal backpacks up until that point. And, I'd put weight in them, but I'm like, I just don't know. I don't, I've been training, but I don't think I can put all this weight on. And I put it on, And I mean, it was definitely a struggle, and I definitely had a lot more work to do, but I put it on and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I totally get it, how it redistributes everything. And I mean, I really learned from a buddy of mine, there's certain, and just from everyone I talk to, there's certain things that to some extent, you do need to invest in. I think, or when you're ready to invest and when you have the money to invest, there's definitely a certain hierarchy of things you need to, like good pack, good boots, I mean, probably are the two most important. But yeah, that would just blew me away. And I definitely learned quickly, it's not just making sure you can carry that weight, but it's making sure you can carry it crawling over deadfall, going side hilling through loose shale, knee deep snow. I definitely learned that quickly, that I could carry the weight no problem, but then when I suddenly I had no way to walk around this giant pile of deadfall, or I was crawling over trees for 100 yards in snow. That's where it really got me. I'm like, I need to rethink my training when it comes to carrying weight.
And I'll tell you that one of the things I love to do when I'm training is I'll do summer trips. Yeah, it's great to scout, but load your pack up and get out there and put your legs to the test. Don't just stay on the trail. Go up that rock slide. Go through that dark timber and over those deadfalls and do it in a safer environment. You may not have 120 pounds on your back, but you might have 60 pounds or 70 pounds, and it'll prepare those legs and those muscles for what really is to come when you get that bull down or that buck down. And, on those early high country above timberline hunts out here in Colorado for deer, if you shoot a deer, you're going to want to get it and your camp out as quick as possible. And sometimes that's one trip. You bone that thing out and you get your camp in there, and you're coming down off of that mountain with a ton of weight on your back. And it's, if you haven't prepared for it, it's going to be a painful and not a super fun experience. But like for me, that's one of the things I love. I look forward to packing animals out. I look forward to that pain, that pain of success. So
it's one of those few moments in life where it's an earned pain. It's something to be proud of. It's something that you can kind of revel in because you know what it means.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think for me, I get such a high from doing it and knowing, okay, we're packing out some good meat. We're packing out an experience, whether it's myself or my buddy's animal or my kid's animal. I don't know. I feel like I can very easily and quickly get a second wind, and get through the things I wouldn't be able to get through if it was just a workout. So
no, absolutely.
But I do need to say something about Kifaru.
Okay.
I use their packs too, and when you go with a company that's smaller like Kifaru, that's local as far as made in the States, not only do they have awesome customer service where you can reach out and get a question answered almost immediately, but if you go on like YouTube, we were talking about making sure that pack fits. Well, you can go on YouTube and pull up, how do I make my pack fit? And Kifaru's got, a couple different videos up on how to make your pack fit properly, or how to get your pack on, and you don't think about that being an important factor. But like you said, you put on 60 pounds, you better make sure that thing's, snug and tight in all the right spots, or you're going to find out quickly, where it's not. So, going with companies like Kifaru and some of these companies, it's an extra expense and you might spend a little bit more money, but I guarantee you're going to get out of that money that you spend a whole lot more. And it's just, that's one company that I believe in. I don't work for them. I buy my packs and I buy my gear from them, and I do it because I believe in it. And, my pack I've got right now, I got the Reckoning this year. But I mean, the frame is 3-4 years old and I probably won't ever replace it. It's an awesome frame. Now they might come out with something super cool in 5 years that I have to have, and I'll give my son or something, but it's just they make quality gear that lasts and they stand behind it. So, getting a company and like that and getting a relationship with a company like that is super valuable in my mind. I know if I ever have an issue, I can just call them up and say, "Hey, look, this is what's going on," and they're going to take care of me. So.
No, definitely, and I hope Aaron and Dana don't hate me when I say this, but I admittedly bought my my frame and pack off a rock slide. It was like the perfect coincidence. I just happened to have exactly the frame and exactly the pack I wanted.
Yeah, and
they were both almost brand new. But I will say I picked up an older bikini frame because I was thinking, save on the weight.
Right.
And I will be probably, I don't know if I'll buy one for this next season, but just whenever I get the cash saved up, I'm swapping that out for the full hunter frame. Like, it's just, it was not worth saving the weight. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, that bikini frame is more comfortable than any other pack I've put on.
Uh-huh.
But I'm a skinny, bony dude. Like, I don't have much padding, and so right. I need padding on my pack, and I need those wider shoulder straps.
Yeah, I've had people talk about their packs being heavy, which if you look at their packs compared to some of the others in the industry, yes, they're a little heavier. But you know what? You're going to feel all that difference when you get to 60 pounds. And to me, if my pack is 22 and your pack is 20 for our day packs, we're running around, whatever, that's what we're carrying on a daily. So what? If I can't carry 25, 30 pounds every day, up and down the mountain, then I probably shouldn't be up there on that mountain. So if my pack weighs a pound more, I don't really care. That weight is well worth it when you put a ton of weight in there. So.
Yeah, I was going to say when it comes down to the line is when you do have the 90, 100 pound packs, and
yeah,
at that point, that the extra comfort is definitely going to make a lot more difference than one less pound.
Oh, definitely, for sure. So
what are you doing these days? We talked a little bit about your growing up hunting, your first animal. What are you getting into these days?
Still obviously chasing mule deer. I kind of chase them year round.
It's not like it's in your Instagram profile name or anything like that.
Yeah, I live in Colorado in an area that has, a lot of deer. And with a little bit of work, I can find good deer pretty much every day to take pictures of. I get a lot of people ask me, oh, they're all right in your backyard. Well, no, they're not. I put on a lot of miles on my truck, on my boots, but within a 3-hour range of where I live, there is a ton of wildlife, especially, and I'll say this, we can go from 5,000 foot deserts south of here to 14,000 foot peaks just north of here. So there's a wide range of climate as well. So year round, I can find animals. The winter range is just south of where I live. The summer range is just north. So it's pretty awesome to be, in this location. So yeah, I'm always out taking pictures of mule deer, just, watching them. I guess what I have going, I'm getting ready to go out to Vegas for national convention for Safari Club. And I go out there to represent our local safari club. We have a club here that we got about 140 members, I think, in our club. And we do a big banquet every year, raise some money. 70% of that money stays here locally that we can dish out to different organizations, grants, scholarship funds. We're getting ready to start archery in the schools in one of the local schools here, which is really cool. So they'll actually have archery class as a gym class in high school. So let kids kind of get an experience that maybe they wouldn't normally. And I get to be a part of that because I'm part of our Four Corners Safari Club. So I'll be out in Vegas the end of January, beginning of February. I've got some meetings out there, and then, of course, the show. The show is pretty cool because you have outfitters and people from all over the world, pushing Marco Polo hunts. Any hunt you could ever dream of going on, there's an outfitter there that's got that hunt available. they're not hunts that I'll probably ever get to take, but I can walk around, look at, what they've got going. But, so I've got that coming up. I've got the expo in Salt Lake. I'll be doing a couple seminars there on using your phone and specifically the camera. So we'll talk a lot about, phone scope and, talk a little bit about, just using it for scenery pics as well. I've found that these phones, although they're not maybe up to a DSLR standard, they still take some great pictures. And there's some pretty cool tricks to getting those pictures to turn out kind of like the way your eyes see it. I find that that's kind of one of the biggest issues with cell phones is you snap the picture and it doesn't look like what your eyes saw. And a lot of people are like, oh, it's a pretty picture, but it wasn't like the real thing. But there's some tricks that you can do with the phone to make it a lot closer to the real thing. So yeah, I'll talk about that in those seminars. So I've got seminars coming up, a lot of little conservation things going with our local clubs. I'm going to try and get, hopefully, the first part of January down to Arizona to do an archery mule deer hunt. But next year, I don't know for sure how crazy in the realm of having tags in my pocket I will be. I've got a son that's going to be a senior. He's on the football team, and I just want to be there for the games, So I'll probably be, doing a lot of local hunts. I don't know if I'll go back to Idaho and hunt elk, although that was an awesome hunt. I don't know if I'll do that. And I might even hold out. I have a 100% chance of drawing my Colorado elk tag this year for a unit that I've been putting in for 8 years now.
Nice.
And I might wait one more year just so I can give it 100% and not feel like I got to bail out on Friday night to go watch my son's football game. So, but I don't know. We'll see. As season gets closer, I may change my mind. I'll get an antelope tag this year, I think. So I'll be chasing antelope with my bow here in Colorado. That's always a fun hunt. If you ever want to learn how to stalk an animal, go on a spot and stalk antelope hunt, and you'll probably blow 20 or 30 stalks before you even get within bow range. And then that stalk, you'll probably blow it too. But they're fun to chase after for sure. And then other than that, no big projects really in the works. I've got a new company up with a few other people, the Mule Deer Hunter. We've got a Facebook platform and an Instagram platform you can go check out, as well as a website, themuledeerhunter.com. I do that with David Long and a few other people, but David just released his book. I'm going to do a plug for him. David Long and Mike Duplan put this together. It's called The Edge. David is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to mule deer hunting. And in this book, he's taken some of the greatest minds in the industry and asked them to cover topics. And there's some great little topics on everything from fitness to optics, to bow hunting, rifle hunting. It's just an awesome book that David put together, but that's for sale on our site as well. But I don't know, for me, I just love talking hunting. I love being in the outdoors. So I'm sure pretty much any weekend, if I'm not at a show, I'm going to be out, running around the woods. My boys still have a cow tag and a doe tag each. That goes until I think January 15th. So we'll be, getting out doing a little hunting for them. But I don't know. As long as there's something to do outdoors, I'll be doing it.
Nice. I'm super bummed out. I didn't realize I was trying to figure out if I could get the time off, and it's Western Hunt Expo starts I think the day after my birthday, and so I was like, oh, the timing's perfect, and I went to buy Expo Hall tickets and sold out. So
for the Hunt Expo in Salt Lake?
Yeah. So I might. I was looking at it. I wanted to do ATA, but I'm probably going to actually be down doing the same thing as you are down in Arizona with those late season archery tags, either chasing coos or muley. So I'm kind of like, oh, I don't think I'll do ATA. And then I was thinking, Western Hunt Expo, especially because the timing's good. But I was kind of going back and forth because I want to go to Texas in February too.
So for the Hunt Expo, you were looking at getting a booth? Or
just going in it.
They're only sold out as far as their booths. You can get in on the floor. I mean, you could go that day and buy tickets to get on the floor. They don't turn anybody away. So
Okay, I was looking. I'll have to take another look then. I was looking at tickets, and they said just like an expo hall pass was sold out, and I thought that's what it.
Yeah, no, you can get. I mean, you can buy tickets the day of and just show up and walk in. So,
Okay. Yeah, I was really surprised. I'm like, wow, they're turning people away, huh?
yeah, no, they're not turning people away. I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong with their website where they're not selling the tickets yet. I don't know, but I know for a fact that you know they would not turn anybody away. They sell those tickets the day of, and I mean, you show up, you can buy yourself a ticket and walk in. So I would still consider that is the expo to go to.
Yeah.
That that Hunt Expo in February in Salt Lake is just an amazing time. I kind of say it's kind of like a high school class reunion where you go back and you get to see your friends. But there's so many of my friends like from Instagram or Facebook that's the only time of the year I see them is at the Hunt Expo. And you catch up with them, tell a few stories and high five, and then you're kind of back off to checking out some booths. But it's a great time, and I would encourage anybody to go to it. They have seminars going all day, every day. They've got they do a film, what do you call it, a film expo or whatever at the same time where they play films and they give awards for those. So there's always some good films playing. Then of course there's the exhibition hall, which is huge. But and then they've got the giveaways that they give away. The Sheep Foundation does one during the middle of the day where they give away sheep hunts, and then the state has their $5 tags where for $5 you can put in for tags that you probably won't ever draw in your lifetime. So that's kind of cool to check out as well. But that's by far my favorite show. So I would encourage you to don't give up on that, to still look at going. And
I'll take a look. I think I must have just misread the website, or I think I probably just misread the website or something. I didn't realize that was probably for booths. So I'll take another look and throw in for the time off. Last year I went to the ISE show in Salt Lake thinking it was the Western Hunt Expo.
Yeah.
My Google search did me wrong. Just typed in the wrong thing, but I actually had a great time at the ISE show. I think it actually worked out in my benefit because it wasn't quite as busy. There weren't quite as many people there, I should say. But everyone that was there, I think, was super bored. and so I got to hang out and got as much time to sit and talk with as many people as I wanted because they weren't as busy. That's the one thing I'll admit that I've heard about Western Hunt is everyone's tends to be running off to do something or meet with someone or record a podcast or sit in the Grady Bowman booth.
Yeah, there's one. I know like last year at the expo, I did a podcast with Cody Rich. So I know he's doing them. I know of probably 6 different, guys that are, or I shouldn't say guys because there might be some girls too, but some 6 different podcasts that are going to be, recording there at the expo. So it is kind of crazy. Your plate gets full pretty quick. And your time with people is limited. Like you said, everybody's doing seminars or running back and forth, or I got to make an appearance at this booth. But at the same time, it's really cool because there's very few people in this industry that are not approachable. So if you see somebody that you haven't talked to or or you look up to, you can run up to them and just be like, hey, I just want to say hello. And, it's really cool because you do get that time where you get to meet different people and realize that, hey, this is a real person, not just a Instagram page or, a TV show or whatever. It's a lot of fun. And there's always stuff going on in the evenings. And so that show for me, I think is one that's a must do and don't miss every year. So
definitely. No, I've enjoyed as it was with the ISE show. And then when I went to Total Archery Challenge, I do love that. Yeah, it is. It's like seeing your friends. They, and for me, a lot of these people, I've never met before, but I've talked with so much that it's like, we'd meet and then we'd realize, be like, wait a second, this is our first time ever actually meeting in person. That seems so weird because you feel like you get to know these people just talking on the phone with them or over the messages.
Yeah, some of my best friends are guys that I haven't met or, people that maybe I've met once or twice is all, but I know if something happened and I needed them, they'd be there for me just because they're solid dudes. But Yeah, again, you brought up another awesome thing, Total Archery Challenge. And I was hoping they'd have one put together for Colorado this year. As of right now, it doesn't look like they do. I know they're working on it, but did you go to Snowbird or where'd you go?
I went to Snowbird. I've been to Salt Lake more times this year than the rest of my life combined.
Right.
I think I've been out to Utah like 5 times this year. Just randomly, like I needed a weekend off and something randomly happened to be going, and flights to Provo are like $40. So I'd fly in, take the train up, camp in Wasatch, and hey, it works.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of become a hub of kind of the Western hunting, and I think it's great. It's a great little, area. You've got some great hunting around there, but it's just, there's a lot of solid people in that area as well. And, yeah, there's some great events that happen in that area, from the expo to Total Archery Challenge. But yeah, that's another one. When I grew up in the outdoors in the industry, there wasn't events like this. It wasn't like you did anything. All you did, I mean, the biggest events we had were little, and this will date me a little bit, but we had 2D archery shoots. We didn't have 3D targets back then. We had these foam 2D targets. They were like 2.5 inches thick of foam, and it was just a 2D animal, and it had a replaceable kill zone. And our tournaments back then were using those little foam targets. So, but now, I mean, now they've got these events that you can, go all over the world, whether you go up to Montana for Total Archery Challenge, or you go to SHOT Show or ATA or, the expo or whatever. It's awesome because there's just so much now, to get you excited year round, about hunting in the industry. And I don't know. I love it. I think it's awesome to see where it's going.
Let's pause there for just a minute to hear a word from one of my partners. All right, y'all, we all know that it's possible to get into the backcountry and take that big buck or bull with a set of surplus store camo and a Walmart tent. But let's face it, quality gear can often make the difference between checking out early due to sheer misery and pushing through just a little bit further to find success. But all this gear can start to add up, and that's why I'd recommend shopping at Black Ovis. They carry high-performance hunting gear from all the top brands like Vortex, Crispy, Sitka, First Light, Mountain Ops, and Stone Glacier, often at a nicely discounted rate. I've yet to find anywhere that offers a more reasonable price, plus their shipping is free and their customer service is unmatched. Additionally, by making the choice to shop at Black Ovis, you're supporting a company that's involved in and gives back to the hunting community. It's where I do all my gear shopping, and whether you're just looking to replace a few items or build out a brand new kit, Black Ovis is the one-stop shop for super solid hunting gear. Additionally, you can help support Living Country in the City by doing all your gear shopping at Black Ovis. Visit livingcountryinthecity.com/Black Ovis, bookmark the link, and use it whenever you do your shopping. So you mentioned you're heading down to Arizona for those late season archery hunts. I've done a little bit of chatting on the podcast about those. Talked well with John Stallone and some with Jay Scott about those. I was hoping to get out this month for some of them too, but it looks like life is being life, and I'm still holding out hope that I can maybe get out for a few days between Christmas and New Year's, but the job, this is probably one of the 2 busiest times of the year for my work, so that's been a bit preventative, but so you're heading down in January for the mule deer rut?
Yeah, there's 3 of us that are looking at going down, and this will be my first year to go down for this tag, and I'm super excited. My buddy, he's been down there a couple times. He's actually headed down this weekend because he did not fill his tag the early part or the early season this year, so he'll be trying to fill that tag before the end of the year, and then hopefully get another tag for the start of next year. But yeah, we're going to be down there. I don't know if we've even set the dates yet, but that first week, the guy I hunt with a lot, Jason, he's got 2 high school age girls. I've got, my boys are in high school, and then I've got a young one that's 18 months old. But we have to try to balance those schedules out, and, his schedule, my schedule, And then our other buddy that we go with, he's got a young daughter. I want to say she's about 5 years old, and then he's got one on the way. So he has to balance his schedule. So it's always one of those things where if we try to do a trip together, it's like, okay, which weekend works for you? And then we have to adjust our schedule. So, but yeah, that first week sometime of January, we're going to head down and try and stay for, at least 3 or 4 days. And may not be a full, week long hunt, but we'll get down there and do some chasing anyways.
That's cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited for him just because, I'm already buying the license for building those points for elk and a few other species. So nice. Why not go down? For me, it's a 5-hour drive depending on where I'm going. It's one of the few actually reasonable hunts for someone from Southern California that has a decent, chance of some action and hopefully success. We'll see. I'm going out there for both Coos and Muley. I'm not biased. Anything. I'm more than happy to put anything I see into the freezer. So, especially after how this year's been, I'd be happy to see anything. Period. Yeah. 2, I would be happy to get within 100 yards of anything. Period. 3, if I could even get a shot off, get within shooting range and take a shot, I will be just floored. And if I actually took something home, I don't care what it is, man. I'm more than happy. So I'm excited to get out.
I think that to have those expectations and those goals, to say, okay, I'm going to go find the animals. That's goal number 1. Goal number 2 is to find them in an area where I can put on a stalk and get within range. Goal number 3 is to be able to get that shot and make a good, clean, ethical shot. So I think that's awesome that you have those goals and that you're, of course, each of us start every hunt with the idea of, I'm going to kill a giant, that's
of course
just what it is. That's why we get excited, because that is a possibility. You're out there hunting. You never know what's going to step out. You never know what you're going to locate and find. But to have, legitimate expectations of, okay, I hope I kill a giant, but I'm going to go out there and my goal is to locate some deer, and then once I've located those deer, my goal is going to change and my goal is going to be, I'm going to put a stalk on one, so I think it's cool to be able to be realistic about your hunts, but have big goals.
I think that's the quickest way to make every single hunt a successful one.
Exactly.
Is you look at that first goal, and if it is to locate animals and observe them, then shoot, you've already got a successful hunt. Everything's downhill from there. You put a lot less pressure on yourself. You put a lot less stress on your life, and you just enjoy everything a bit more. I think
something people overlook especially on these out-of-state hunts is goal number 1 should just be getting there.
Oh, dear Lord.
You want to talk about adventures, man. Some of my best adventures have been just getting to the hunts themselves, So that's something that you can't ever, 1, overlook, and 2, you got to make that part of the trip, part of the fun.
I remember going out to Idaho too. I was like, okay, this should be about a 16-hour drive for me from where I'm going and this and that. And I looked at it, and 20 hours later, I'm getting, I think it was like 22 hours later, I'm getting to the spot where I'm going to be hunting. And I'm like, man, that was an adventure, a huge adventure in and of itself. And, it was definitely an experience for sure. And probably one that I should have stopped and slept along the way, but
yeah. But now you have that experience to look back on, and that becomes all part of the hunt, so.
No, absolutely. So we talked a little bit about Safari Club. I always love Safari Club because it's, the history of it's pretty interesting because I think it was started by 2 main chapters, and one of them was in Los Angeles, I believe.
I believe you're right, yeah.
It was back in the mid-late 70s, I want to say. I can't remember what the other chapter was, but I think it was like two Safari Club chapters, and they kind of
got together and then decided to change the name to Safari Club International and expand and start pulling in other groups. But one of the few conservation and hunting claims to fame from Los Angeles. We don't have a ton, but
yeah, it's, Safari Club. I think a lot of people, just because of the name, are kind of pushed away because they think when you think safari, you think Africa, which Safari Club is huge in Africa and as well as throughout the world. I mean, there's safari clubs, there's local chapters that are in Europe, that are in Australia. I mean, they're all, anywhere you want to go hunt, there's a safari club. And the awesome thing, as far as me and the way I look at it with Safari Club and the local chapters, is 70% of the money you raise stays locally. I support Elk Foundation and Mule Deer Foundation, but a lot of those other foundations out there, conservation groups out there, when you support that group and you pay your dues and you go to a banquet and that money's raised, a lot of times that money is turned over to National, and National gets to decide where that money goes. And that's a great thing because there are some huge projects that need that kind of money to take place, like what Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation does. When they go in, they may spend, millions and millions of dollars for one project. And the only way you're going to get that kind of money is with all the chapters, pitching in. But with Safari Club, 70% of the money we make stays local, and we do grants, we do scholarships. We do everything from grants for sending teachers to what's called the ALS School, which is American Wilderness Leadership School. And we send local teachers every year up to the school. And what it does is it teaches them how to bring the wilderness into the classroom. So it's how to get kids excited about the outdoors, because there is such a large disconnect in kids, whether they be middle school or high school age kids, with the outdoors. Part of that's due to technology and kids on their phone all the time or playing, video games all the time. But there is a huge disconnect. I mean, even with my boys, the amount of time I spend with them, getting them in the woods and trying to keep their focus on the outdoors and hunting. I mean, this year we're hiking along, and one of our hunts, my son Cole had a buck tag, my son Nate had a cow tag. We're hiking along, and all of a sudden Nate starts whistling, and I turn around and look real quick, like, what? Like, I thought maybe he saw something. He had his headphones in and was listening to music as we're hiking along.
Oh, no.
So that's the generation, and I made him take him out. I was like, you are missing so much by not listening to what's going on around you. And I said, yes, I'm here with you. And yes, I'm going to hear things and I'll point them out, whatever. But you need to take in that experience. But it's just, that's kind of that generation. They are a technology generation, and they're driven by their phones and the TVs and the computers and the internet. And I think there's a huge disconnect. And by sending these teachers to this outdoor, school where they learn how, whether it's archery in the schools or whether it's teaching kids how to start a fire. I mean, how many kids out there actually know how to start a fire now? I knew how to start a fire when I was young, like 6, 7 years old. But I took my boys camping the other day. I was like, hey, Cole, start the fire. And he had no clue what to do. I mean, he had matches and he's sitting there trying to light twigs on fire. I'm like, what are you doing? Here's some tinder. This is how you get tinder. And, and just sitting there going, wow, I didn't even realize that I had dropped the ball on this with my boys. But it's just something that I think is important. And it's something that I get to see locally kind of take shape. We help out with 4-H clubs. We've purchased everything from a scale to weigh animals for the 4-H club to another 4-H club. We actually send them to nationals for shooting competition. So we do a lot locally, and that's fun to see. It's fun to see, those dollars that you're helping raise be spent right there in front of you and be a part of that. So that's one of the reasons I've gotten so big with Safari Club, and why I've invested so much time, because I get to see that difference made right there in front of me locally, to the people in my life, that are around me. I would still encourage everybody to be a part of those other groups. Find a conservation group whose ethics and morals and values mirror yours and become a part of it,
I mean, there's conservation groups out there for anything you're interested in the hunting world. I mean, anything every day. I swear, I see on Instagram or Facebook or, somewhere, some other like well-established group that's dedicated to some super specific animal, or, if there's something you're interested in, there's a group out there, and you can get involved financially. You can get involved. I think, we talked about this earlier. People, I feel like, are super willing to get involved financially with a lot of these groups, or even just, thinking like, oh, I'm buying my tags, I'm doing my part for conservation. Not as many people are willing to donate their time. And I get it, you donate where you can. You may be working, 60 hours a week trying to pay rent, and you can't afford to give up that time, and you can only afford to give so much financially. I get that, but I think it's super important that we're also finding ways to give of our time as well. I mean, I'm here in Southern California. You want to talk about a place that's hard to find ways to get like boots on the ground to donate time. Like, it's tough. Like, there's very few opportunities for me to get out and go work on go out to the desert and work on guzzlers for rams, or for sheep or something. But I think not enough people take that effort to donate time. They kind of almost write it off. They're like, okay, I donated my $30 a month to BHA, and I bought tags this year, which, I will never discourage anyone from doing, but right. Nobody wants to. It's more effort to take time and go to those state meetings. Go to a BHA pint night and just meet people and help recruit others. Go, get on the email list and find out when there's going to be that random project. Like, people don't want to put in that mental effort, I think. Yeah, and so it's also super important.
It takes somebody pretty special to do that, and put in that mental effort, because, and that's one thing I found, for me as president, the amount of time that I have to put into that club that's not directed at boots on the ground projects is crazy. But because I do put in that time, everybody else can come and put their boots on the ground and be a part of it, whether it be, an archery shoot that we have for the kids and putting that on, or whether it be something like, putting time and effort into building a local library. Get out there and make a difference and support these organizations that are supporting your passions. And for me, it's a lot of time, a lot of effort. Thankfully, my busy time with Safari Club is my slow time with work. So it works for me. And I understand, like, for you, like, you're getting to your busy season and that's tough, but you can find a way, and whether it's, showing up to a meeting once a month, letting your voice be heard, or getting out and doing a project once a year, there's opportunities. It's just a matter of finding them and getting involved. So,
and I mean, that is the beauty of this technology age that we're in, is it provides so much more access to that. It's so much easier to find these options, because you can hop on these email lists, you can join these Facebook groups, you just have so much more immediate and widespread access to stuff that you may never have known, unless it's happening in your neighborhood, kind of a thing. And so that is one of the beauties of this technology age we live in, and all of that. It definitely has its negatives, but I think there's not as many excuses anymore for not getting involved. There really isn't.
Right.
So getting into this, as we're kind of winding down, what if people wanted to find you online, where can they hunt you down?
I think, like most people now, Instagram's kind of becoming the place to go. There's not a limit on the number of people you can have. I think I've hit my friends limit on Facebook. I don't know how many times I go through and delete a bunch of people, but I really don't spend a lot of time on Facebook anymore. I do a little bit, but not much. Most of my time goes into Instagram. So on Instagram, it's Muley Matt. You can also check out the Mule Deer Hunter on Instagram. We do have a page on Facebook for the Mule Deer Hunter that has like 27,000 people on it now. So that's taken off. And that's kind of a cool forum where people can go and get information or brag about their hunts or whatever. It does take, I tell you what, those Facebook pages take some time because there are some stupid people that like to get on there and make stupid. You got to try to keep that clean and cleaned up. But I think our group does a pretty good job of that. But yeah, Instagram's the best place to find me. So.
Awesome. And so as we're closing it out, do you have any words of wisdom or maybe encouragement for someone either from the city that just doesn't have access to the outdoors as easily, or just someone new to hunting that feels maybe intimidated and like there's a lot going on, I don't know what to do?
Yeah. No, I think there's a couple great things. One, I would say, find a group locally. These conservation groups are great because you get to meet people that have the same passion. So I've got on my board 2 different people that are wanting to learn how to hunt, and they join the board so that they can meet people. And I think that's a great way to get involved. I also would encourage people to make their first few hunts a hunt that is not too difficult and highly successful. So yeah, you don't want to necessarily just tromp off into the backcountry Idaho by yourself.
Yeah, what kind of idiot would do that?
No, just with each state now pretty much puts out how hard it is to draw each unit and the success rates. With a little bit of effort, you can find easy to draw tags with high success rate, and understand that, hey, look, I'm out for the experience. I'm out to learn how it's done. If you shoot a stud buck, you want to know how to cape that thing out. So on your first hunt, if you go on a hunt and shoot a doe and that's your first hunt, cape that doe out just so you have that experience of, okay, wow, this is how it's, oh man, these eyes are tough, and mess up on an animal that's not going to be, something you're going to regret. So yeah, I would encourage people to find a hunt that's high success, easy to draw, whether it be a doe hunt for antelope in Wyoming or whatever. Make it a hunt that's going to be fun, that's going to, put some meat on the table and let you learn how to cut it up, how to butcher it yourself. And realize that it's going to take some time to work up to unless I have a ton of money and want to pay people to do it for me, it's going to take time to figure out those animals and to get into the backcountry and be successful. So I would encourage people not to set their goals too high for their first hunt, just to be like, hey, let's have fun. Even if it is like a duck hunt or a hog hunt in Texas. Hog hunting in Texas is a blast. I love it. I tell people you should go do it. Get on a ranch and shoot some hogs. It's a fun hunt. It provides meat, and it'll give you a great experience. So, yeah, that would be probably my piece of advice, is to do a little research and, don't set your goals too high to start off with. It's great to have those lofty goals, but set them for a couple years down the road. Don't think that you're, 19 years old, fresh out of high school, in college, and you can do a 20-mile round trip backcountry hunt and that you're going to shoot a 200-inch deer. Does it happen? Yeah, it happens, but it takes some time and effort and success or experience to get to that success. So yeah, I think it's fun just to get out there and have that experience. So
that's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for hopping on the show today. I appreciate having you on and sharing your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, y'all, that'll do it for episode 49 of Living Country in the City. Make sure you check out Matt and the Mule Deer Hunter online. You can find links to all of those pages on our show notes page at livingcountryinthecity.com/49. Also, don't forget that you can pick up your Living Country in the City hats and decals in the store on our website at livingcountryinthecity.com/store. And finally, check out that support page, get involved with Living Country in the City. But in the meantime, keep it country, y'all.
Thank y'all for listening to Living Country in the City. Get show notes and check out the blog, product reviews, events, and more at livingcountryinthecity.com.
You know, I mean, it's if there's something you're interested in, I'm having the speaking problems.